psychology of the client. We already talked about that they are afraid of us. To them, we are salespeople. We already talked about how to bring their task attention from here to here so that they'll actually open up to us, right? But now we need to talk about the mirroring and matching and the personality types. You guys do have the personality profiling chart in your book. I have to do this. So we've learned over time that I have to give some disclaimers. Okay? Expressives, I'm going to make fun of you. Drivers, I'm going to make fun of you too. Guess what? Amiables and analyticals, I'm going to make fun of you right now. Because I am going to give you guys extreme examples of each personality. It is not to be offensive. It is so that you remember it. So that you're like, oh yeah, he's right there. Remember when Tina was on stage and she was talking about that analytical? And now he's like, I need to think about it. And then 2 years later, he needs to do more research and he might come back to you. Okay? You're going to remember these things, and that's why I give you extreme examples. Okay? And I put this here because I've had people get mad at me. I've had people actually storm out of the room and say, I am not amiable like that. That is not me. It probably is. Okay? You have some of it. I know you do. Okay? And when I make fun of expressives, I'm right there with you. I probably wouldn't be able to be up here. Okay? All right. So here's your chart. I went ahead and put your driver with, the whole disc thing. I went ahead and put it together. But I like the terms driver, expressive, amiable, analytical, because they're easy to understand. Okay? We are going to start with a driver today. There are some drivers in this room. You know them. They're the ones that get irritated when you're late, or when I'm late, or when Brian's late. Oh, you're my fun guy all day, Brian. But the drivers are the ones who are all about task on time. They're the ones who are going to be bold. They're going to tell you exactly what they want. They're going to be the one that walks into your open house, and they're going to be like, hi. And they walk really, really fast trying to get past you. Okay, now Mariah is unstoppable because those drivers would walk in and she'd be like, wait! And she'd stop because she's little. She can do that. Wait, stop. I got to tell you something. And they would stop. But the driver is the one who is going to bulldoze you if you let them. Drivers, I'm sorry, but it's true. They're the ones who are going to be like, don't you know who I am? You guys are thinking of clients right now. The driver is the one who likes prestige. They like the top of the food chain. I have drivers that work with my team members, and they insist on working with the team leader. It's not offensive to the team. It's just they want to work with the top, the food chain, because they feel that they have earned the right to work with the top. Okay? And I do have a little bit of a driver side, because I'm going to pick on Brian, but at the same time, when I have an inspection, I just call Brian. Because I want to work with Brian. Because he's the owner, and I just want to work with Brian. So there is that driver side there, okay? Drivers take total and complete offense if you were late. It's personal to them. They're like, my time is not important to you. But on the flip side, they are also the ones that are like, oh no, I can meet you today in 1 hour. And they give you this last minute, like, no, we need to meet today in 1 hour. And when you say, I apologize, I have something else I need to, they're like, that's the time I have, figure it out. And you don't know what to do because you're like, well, I have another appointment, and you try to move things around. Here's what I need you guys to understand about a driver. They respect people who stick up for themselves. Okay? I have had drivers come at me and say, well, I have 1 o'clock today. This is when I can meet with you. And I look at them, or I'm talking to them on the phone, and I'm like, you know what? I completely respect that. However, I need more time. I'm a busy person. Your business is important to me, but you need to plan with me. I want to take care of you to the best of my abilities, but I need a plan. I live by my schedule. When are you available tomorrow? And I come right back at them. I've actually had to yell back at drivers. Drivers, at the last minute, something doesn't go their way, and they're like yelling at you. And I will actually say to them, you know what? You don't get to raise your voice at me. When you're ready to talk to me calmly, we'll talk again. Now I say that, and there's people in the room that are like, oh, I couldn't do that. Who could not do that right now? Be honest. Okay? What is the fear? You don't want to come across as being rude or disrespectful, but is it okay if they're being rude and disrespectful to you? Okay? What did I teach you guys yesterday? You have to teach people how to work with you. Right? What do you have to lose? Their business? Okay? Is your respect worth caving and doing whatever they want? No. If somebody ever comes at you and starts yelling at you, you have the right to say to them, you know what? I want to hear what you have to say, but I'm not going to tolerate you yelling at me. Call me back when you want to have a real conversation. That's what you do. You have to teach them how to work with you. Now, here's what I want to explain. Notice at the top of the list, thinking-based versus feeling-based. Fast-paced versus slow-paced. Your driver is thinking-based and they're fast-paced. Okay? What that means is you do not come to a driver and say to them, how do you feel about that? They're going to look at you like you have three eyes. What do you mean, what do I feel about that? How do I feel? Why is feelings in this? What you have to ask a driver is, what are your thoughts on that? That is a word that they understand. That is a word that they comprehend. They're fast-paced, so if you're not a fast-paced person, and you come at a driver and you're like, well, so I was doing some research for you because you asked me a question, and, well, what I found was, and you're speaking very slowly, the driver's going to be like, just get to the point. Please, just tell me, what did you find? Just tell me. Because you're speaking so slowly that they're going to start finishing your sentences for you. And if you're talking to somebody and they say, are you laughing because you do that? Yeah. I knew that. But if they start finishing your sentences for you, you better pick up the pace of how you're speaking to them. Because they're bored. And you're going to lose them in about 3 minutes. So you've got to pick it up. Okay? Now, drivers are also very decisive. If you bring them exactly what they want, they will pull the trigger. If you continually bring them what they don't want, they're going to find somebody else because you're wasting their time. Remember, drivers are all about time on task. That's what they care about. Okay? I had one client who was a CEO of an international company. He was not my client. He was one of my agent's clients. And she had made a few mistakes when she inputted the listing. And she had made a few mistakes that kind of popped up on Zillow. And he would ask her questions, and she didn't necessarily know how to answer them. So he asked to speak to me. He spoke to me one time because I'm the team leader, and he refused to speak to her again. Because he said that she was making mistakes. She made 2 small mistakes. I mean, they were tiny, minuscule mistakes. They really weren't a big deal. And he refused, because of that, to work with her again. Now, that is an extreme scenario. Most drivers will give you a little bit of leeway as long as it's within reason and as long as you own your mistake. If you do not openly own your mistake, you know what? I completely missed that. I apologize. Never say you're sorry, by the way. Sorry is a negative connotation by the brain. But if you say, I apologize, I missed that, that's on me, I will fix it right now. They will give you some leeway. Where they will not tolerate you is if you make a mistake, you don't own it, you don't apologize, and you make excuses. Drivers have no place for excuses. Any questions about a driver? No? Okay. We're going to go to the expressive. The expressive is the colorful one in the room. They are fast-paced. They are feeling-based. They are very hard to keep on task. They will get completely bored with you. So if they walk into your open house and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" You always know, because they're like, "Hi." You're like, you need to respond back to them, "Hi, I'm great, how are you?" Mirror and match them, because that gets them excited. They're like, yes, they feel my energy, okay? So they want to play with you, all right? They're like, okay, what are we going to do next? Okay, and they get all excited. They're the ones that have a lot of friends. They like popularity. They like people. Very hard to keep on task. Very, very hard. When you have a room full of expressives, which we probably have a lot of you in this room right now, it's amazing that I can keep you from looking at your phone and playing games and being on social media while you're sitting here, because you get bored. You do. And you know what? That's okay, because you'll move to the next thing that gets you excited. Well, realtors are usually either driver or expressive to be truly successful in this business. It's one of their primary personalities. And it's because they're so fast-paced and they're excited, and expressives have a lifestyle that they want to maintain. This business for them is like, okay, I get to hang out with people. I get to show amazing homes. They get to spend money. I get to make money. I get to do that. That's fun. And then I get to go on vacation and hang out with more friends and do more things. Now, the things you have to worry about with an expressive is when you're showing them homes, they are going to be with you going, "Oh my gosh, Tina, I cannot wait to tell you about this party I went to this week. It was so much fun." And they're not looking at the home. And you're like, you know what? I would love to hear about that story, but can we look at the home first? And then you can tell me all about it in the car. Okay, that would be fun. And then they're like, they'll walk in and they'll see the kitchen that has everything that they want. They're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh." Okay, so I can totally see having a party in this room. Can you see it? I can see it. Like, everybody's going to be over here. They're going to be over here. I'm going to be cooking. Well, maybe I'll cater. I don't know if I'll cook. But yeah, they're going to be here. And you've got to kind of keep them in that mindset. Build their dream. Your expressives are the one that will pull the trigger the fastest. You may show them one home. You have 5 to show them. You show them one home. They walk in. It's everything they envisioned in their head, and they're like, "Yes, yes, I don't need to go to the other 4. Nope, my parties can happen right here. Right here. I don't even care what the rest of the home looks like. Nope." And then you take them to the backyard, and it's magnificent, and they're like, "Oh yeah, lights over here. We'll have the decorator come. I can put the Christmas tree over there." Like, they are totally living the life in that moment. And they will pull the trigger. Now, they might freak out the next day. They might. They might call you up and they're like, "Okay, I was a little emotional about this. I really loved it. Can we go look at it again just so I can make sure?" Because I'm trying not to be so impulsive, because expressives are impulsive. And yeah, I need you to help me make sure that I'm right. And so they'll go back and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, okay, I can see the party again. Okay, I just want to make sure." I'm like, "Well, why don't we video it so that you can keep seeing that party in your head?" Okay, they're like, "Okay, yeah, let's do that. Can I be in the video?" I'm like, "Yeah, why don't you be? You want to post it? Let's post it." Okay, so you just want to have fun with them. You want to keep them vibing with you. Now, here's what you need to understand. Your expressive always moves to the next shiny object. Sorry, I know those expressive, that hurts a little, but it's true, isn't it? They're the ones that you will give them impeccable service. I mean impeccable service. And then you even follow up with them. And then they invite you to a party at their home, and then guess what? You don't go because you're working, or you're with family, or whatever your life is going on. And they meet another realtor at the party, and now that's the realtor that showed up at their party that they refer their next friend to. because that's the person that's in front of them and partook in their life. So you want to keep your expressives close. You need to stay in front of them all the time. Drivers may refer you if they're truly, really impressed with you. Expressives, it doesn't matter how impressed they are with you. What matters is that you stay in front of them. Now, if you ask an expressive, well, what are your thoughts? My thoughts. Like I'm supposed to have thoughts about this? Like, what do you mean? I don't understand. You have to ask them, how do you feel? Does this feel good? Expressives want to feel good. Does it feel good in here? Do you feel like this is home? Do we need to sit down on the couch and make sure that you feel good? You can't ask a driver to sit down on the couch. They're going to be like, why? I know I like it. Why do I need to sit on the couch? The expressive is going to be like, oh, yeah, let's sit on the couch. I want to. Okay, let's do it. Expressives are also the ones that are going to interrupt you when you're talking. You got to keep them focused back. You got to bring it back. It's okay, bring it back. They're like, okay. By the time you're done showing 5 homes, they're exhausted because you showed them 5 and they had so much energy while they were there, but they have all these other things that they have to do. Your expressives are going to be the ones that are notoriously late for everything. So with my expressive clients, I usually tell them that we're showing property 15 to 20 minutes earlier than we actually are. There's no way to actually control them with their lateness. They're just going to be late. They need to make sure they look good. They need to make sure that they're in style. They've already planned 50 other things for that day. And so they're going to be late getting there, and they're so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late. I had 5 other things I had to do, and I overbooked myself, but I'm here. Okay, so just know they're going to be late. So if you have a fast-paced, feeling-based person, that's what you really need to pay attention to. You've got an expressive that is probably going to be late. Now, does that mean that you're going to be late? No. You're actually going to go ahead and get there around the same time that you tell them to be there. But I promise you're going to be waiting 15 minutes. Okay? If you tell them exactly when you're supposed to be there, you're going to be off on your showings the rest of the day. Okay? And I had an expressive client, and so I'm expressive by nature. And I had an expressive client, and we would get together to go show properties. I had to plan for a 4-hour day because an expressive with another expressive, oh, holy heck. We were having a great, we had to go have a drink in the middle, okay? She's like, Tina, can we stop and get a margarita? I'm like, I already planned for that. I knew we were going to stop and have a margarita because I knew we were going to be over here. She's like, oh, you're so good. Yes. Okay. It's okay if we go look at homes. If I had a margarita, I said, well, I can't have you sign a contract if you're intoxicated. And she's like, I'm not going to get intoxicated. 1 drink does not intoxicate me. Okay. She has 1 margarita. It's a big margarita. I'm like, you can't sign a contract today. So be careful of that with your expressives. Because if they've been drinking and you know that they've been drinking and then they want to sign a contract, that contract is voidable. So just know that, and they will find the loophole if they really don't want it. Expressives are smart. They know how to play the game. So just be cautious of that. Do you have any questions about an expressive? And I'm going to show you guys how to work with couples that are 2, because that's going to be important, okay? All right, you're amiable. Whew. The amiables. Guys, the amiables, I love them. They make the world go round. But they cannot make a decision to save their life. They are slow-paced. They are feeling-based. And when they walk into your open house, it's kind of like this. If you jump out and you're like, hi, how are you? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run. You freak them out. So you've got to say to them, hi, thank you so much for coming in. Come on in. How'd you find us? You match their pace with all of these. So if they come in slow, you match their pace slow. If they come in fast, you match it fast. So when an amiable comes in and they're slow paced, they're actually kind of scared of you. They really are. They're like, what is this going to be like? Are they going to force me to do anything? I didn't bring any of my friends or family with me. Amiables question everything they do. They need 5 people to tell them that they're making the right decision. At least 5. So when you have an amiable and they want to go see homes, your question to them needs to be, okay, do you have anybody that needs to come with us? Is there anybody that helps you make these decisions? Well, yeah. My friend Carol does. Okay, so does Carol need to go with us to see homes? Would that be okay? Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You need reinforcements. You need reinforcements. Okay? They're very feeling-based. They need to feel like you are their friend. They need to feel like you have their back, that you are not going to let them make a bad decision at all. That's very, very important. Because if they feel at any point that you do not have their back, they're going to go into what's called fight or flight. I've had agents say to me, she was so nice, like so sweet. She always baked me cookies when we were getting together. She would bring me a cup of coffee when we were meeting. We always had this great relationship. And then I asked her if she wanted to make an offer on this home. She flipped out and became this ugly, ugly, ugly person that I didn't know existed, and now she won't return my phone calls. Something in the conversation made her feel that you didn't have her back. Now, the amiable is the most loyal of all of the personalities. They are the ones that will refer you to everybody they know. They will be your biggest referral partners, as long as you thank them every single time and make them feel really special about it. Okay? If you put them into a corner where they come out swinging, they will tell 20 times more people how horrible you are. And here's the thing, people trust them because they're so sweet, and people listen to that. So you gotta be really, really careful with that. So because they're feeling-based, they're not analytical. That's not why they're questioning themselves. A lot of times something has happened in their life that they made a bad decision, and now they don't trust themselves to make a good decision. And that's why they need their financial advisor to look at everything and make sure the numbers work, and they need their best friend to look at it, and maybe their parents, and maybe their brother, and everybody else. Sometimes you can go to a showing with an amiable with 10 people. I've done it. Every single potential decision maker was in that room. And we wrote an offer. And then afterward, we had to go back to the home 5 more times because she still wasn't sure that that was the home. So we had one client who her husband passed away. And this is really common with people who have been married for 30 plus years. Somebody in the household paid all the bills, made all the decisions. Somebody in the household didn't. The person that was left in this situation, she was the one that was left, and she didn't know how to pay the bills, she didn't know what the finances were, she didn't know how to call the people for maintenance on the home. And here's the thing, she was in her 70s, and the home was on a mountain with steps to even get to the bedroom. If anything happened to her, there was no way that she was even going to be able to get to a bedroom. So we go in, we look at the home. This was a very good friend of Shane's. And she was pretty devastated that her husband passed away. And I'm sitting at the listing appointment with her, and she's telling us the story. And I can tell she's very feeling-based. She's very slow-paced. She had the cookies on the table. She made Shane his special coffee that he liked. We were sitting down having a conversation. And by the way, your meetings with amiables are going to take twice as long because they need a lot of reassurance. So if your listing presentation is normally an hour, if it's an amiable, plan for 2 because you got to make a friend. And drivers, you're going to have to work especially hard at this because it's going to annoy you, but you've got to mirror and match and recognize who they are. They need you. Amiables need you. So you've got to have some patience with them. And if you can't, then you need to give them to somebody else that you work with that can have the patience with them. So she's telling us the story, and she's like, but how do I get rid of the things that we've had for 45 years? How do I choose what to get rid of? And I'm like, that's going to be tough. Do you have some friends that can come over that knew your husband too? And can they help you figure out what you need and what you don't need? Oh yeah, I can do that. Okay. And when we go look at homes, who's going to help you make the decisions on this? Because I know you have some people in your corner that help you make the decisions. Well, my financial planner has become a really good friend of mine. And he said that it's really important that I go ahead and sell right now because I need to make sure I have enough money to live for the rest of my life. And I'm like, okay, well, that's important. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and get him on the phone so that he knows the plan of what we're going to do. Now, before we actually list this home, have you looked at any other ones to know what you like? No, I'm really scared about it. Okay, that's okay. What if we do this? What if Shane goes and takes you to see a few things just so you know in your heart of hearts that there's something out there that you're going to love? And then once you see that, you can have the confidence to know that it's okay to sell this property. Okay, we can do that. I'm like, okay, so is your friend Carol going to come with you? Yeah, I want Carol to come with me. Okay, I'm sure your financial advisor doesn't want to go see homes with you. No, he actually might because we're friends. Okay, well, we can ask him when we call him today. No, he didn't want to go. And then I'm like, okay, is there anybody else in your friend network that needs to go because you value their opinion and their help? Yeah. Okay, I have 2 more that I'd like to go. All right, so I'm going to let Shane coordinate that with you to where all 3 of you can go, or 4 of you, so you can go see some homes and make sure that you're making the right choice for you. Does that work? Does that make you feel better? Yes. Okay. After we put the home on the market, we had to talk to her every single day to let her know that it was going to be okay. She'd call panicked, but what if something goes wrong? It's okay. We've got this. We already have a plan for anything that could happen. You're going to be okay. All right, okay. And then the next day, what if the people that are buying my home decide that they don't want to buy it? Well, it's okay, then we'll put it back on the market and we'll get another buyer. We can do that? Absolutely, we can do that. Well, okay, I'm trusting you. I know, and you can. It's okay. We have this for you. Don't worry, we're going to get you there. So yes, your amiables will take more work, but they will be your friends for life. That same client referred at least 6 more clients after that whole transaction. So yes, during the transaction, it was a little frustrating, right? Every day. But on the flip side, look how much more was gained, and we have a friend, right? So how many of you are actually thinking about amiables that you've had as clients and going, yep, did that. Now I've got to ask you, because you're a driver, how do you handle the amiable? Very, very smart. Very smart. And how do you handle them?
Talk to them, hang out with them, answer their calls, put their mind at ease. She's good at it too.
But she runs out of patience.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always bounce back and forth.
Yes, and you're the expressive between the 2 of you.
Yeah.
Oh yes, definitely. So I got to tell you guys, Mariah is amiable by nature. There were some clients that I started to get to my wit's end, like I don't have the patience anymore to have the same conversation. So Mariah would talk to them. That was very, very helpful. They knew that she was coming to me with everything, but they really liked Mariah. So they would talk to Mariah, and she would help me through it with those clients. Because sometimes I'm like, I can't I can't have this conversation again. I can't. And I don't want to take it out on them. They're just being themselves. It's not their fault. This is how they're wired. So you've got to have the patience with them. So you want to avoid thinking-based questions with them. You want to avoid giving them too much information. Because if you give them too much information, then it makes them scared and like they really don't know what they're doing, and then they've got to talk to 10 more people. Okay, so don't do that. You got to keep it clear and concise and give them exactly what they want and share with them what they need to know and talk to whoever they need you to talk to and talk about feelings with them. How do you feel? Are you feeling good? Does this feel good to you? Are you happy? Can you see yourself here? Can you picture the family here visiting you? Yeah? Can you have some friends over for a quiet dinner one night where you guys are playing games like you told me you like to do? You hit those hot buttons with every single personality. You're analytical. Whew, the analytical. They're the ones that come into your open house. They're thinking-based. They're slow-paced. They walk in, and they just kind of look at you. And then they look up. They don't like to make eye contact with you because that's a little uncomfortable. The amiables don't either, which is why I'm so intimidating. and they're in there and they're like, okay, so I've done the research on this neighborhood. When they start using the word research, you know you have an analytical. I've done the research on this neighborhood. I've compiled a list of information. And what I found in that information is that people like living here because of XYZ. What have you found? And then they start quizzing you. They want to know if you're going to be honest if you don't know the information. They want to know if you're going to lie. They want to know if you're a pretender. So the best technique with an analytical is, you know what? I don't know the answer to that, but if it's important to you, I will find out. Chances are they already know. They're just testing you. Now, how many in the room are actually analyticals? Okay. Analyticals will get in their own head. They will stop themselves before they start. Because they're so thinking-based, they're conducting the research. They're going to make sure that they're making an absolute positive decision. They are going to make sure that they have it backed up with facts. And then they will pull the trigger. But they are going to need to take the paperwork home and read it, word for word, before they sign it. It's almost not even possible to give them a DocuSign. You got to send them a PDF, let them read through it, ask you any questions they want to ask you, and then send them a DocuSign. Okay, I'm gonna send you the information first. I know you're going to want to read it. They love when you understand them. I know you're going to want to read it, and then you let me know if you have any questions or if we need to change anything, and then I'll have you sign it. Does that sound fair? Does that sound fair is a tie-down question, by the way. Does that sound fair? Yeah, actually, that's what I would prefer. Great, we're on the same page. They like it. Now, if you come at an analytical, hyper or fast-paced, whoa. No, don't do that. You are too much for me. You are too much for me. An analytical will look at all of the information over and over again. Now, here's the thing. If you go to a listing presentation and you have all of the property information for every single comp in that neighborhood, they're going to need to think about it. They're going to want to read through every single one of those papers. And they probably know every single one of those homes that's been for sale and is sold. But now you threw one in that they didn't see before. And now they got to go back and they got to research that home and find out why it's different than their home. And they're going to keep doing that. And the more information you give them, the more they're going to have to analyze it in order to make a decision. So if you keep giving them new information that they didn't ask for, it could take another year. It can. As a matter of fact, they will be the ones that will say, I've been researching this for about 3 years. 3 years? Really? Here's the best thing to say to them. I bet you could teach me some things. 3 years is a long time. It is a long time, but I want to make sure that I'm making absolutely the right investment. And so I've researched everything. Okay. So what did your research find? What was the most important things that stood out to you? Ask them about their research. Get all of the information from them because they already did their homework. They don't need you to do homework. They already know. And if they do ask you to do homework, you better do the homework, and you better give them the accurate answer because they also did the homework, and they're going to fact check you. Now, you would think that analyticals wouldn't be so bullet pointed. Okay, but remember, they're thinking based. Here's what I want you to remember. Your thinking based personalities, they're bullet points. They don't want the whole story. They don't want to know all the personal stuff. They don't care about any of that. They want, okay, give me the bullet points. What's the price point? What's the square footage? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What street is it on? Does it back up to a street or not back up to a street? Give me the important details. As a matter of fact, when I communicate with an analytical, a lot of times, even in my text, I will bullet point the text. No unnecessary words. Your drivers are the same way. If you give them a story or you're like, oh my gosh, I got to tell you, I've had the craziest day today. They're like, can we just get back to what we were talking about today? This? And they sound so impersonal to those that want to tell a story. They do. They're like, well, you're rude. You're totally rude. They're not being rude. Their brain just cannot take any more information in. They don't want to hear it. They don't have time for it. They don't want to hear it. Your analyticals and your drivers are the same way. Now, this is a lot of information in personality profiling, but here's what I want you to think about. All you need to pay attention to today is whether they are fast-paced or slow-paced. You need to recognize whether somebody's thinking-based or feeling-based. Those are the most important things. You don't have to remember, oh, that's an expressive, or that's a driver, that's an amiable, that's an analytical. That's not the important thing to you. All you need to be able to mirror and match with them is whether they are fast-paced or slow-paced, feeling-based or thinking-based. That's it. As long as you can mirror that quadrant, you will be able to communicate with them. Your analyticals are also very on time. They don't like to be late either. Here's the other thing I want you to think about. Analyticals are the opposite of expressives. Drivers are the opposite of amiables. Those are your biggest challenges. Okay? If you're an expressive, the analytical is your biggest challenge. But guess what? You usually end up in a relationship with them. Opposites attract. I know, because I'm expressive and I have an analytical boyfriend. and most of the time it works. But your drivers typically end up with an amiable. And it's because the amiable personality doesn't take offense and is totally fine with going in line with whatever the driver wants. So they work well together in opposites, but when you're opposite with clients, it can be more challenging, and probably because they remind you of your significant other. Seriously, think about it. You're like, oh my gosh, this person is just like my husband. Ah, I deal with this all day at home, right? You seriously go through that. So what do you do when you have a husband who's a driver and a wife who's an amiable, and you're communicating with them? Just like we learned yesterday, you switch hats. So you're talking to the driver, and you're like, okay, so Bob, here's the deal. This is the price point. This is what's going on. And I found out that they're willing to negotiate a little bit. Okay? Is there anything you don't like about the home? No. I like it. It's fine. They're never like, oh yeah, I love it. No, drivers won't say that, neither will analyticals. They'll say, it's good. It checks the boxes. Okay, great. All right, now Anne, how do you feel about the home? You feeling good? Well, yeah, I really love it. Okay, Bob, did you know that she loved it? Yeah, I know. She gets all emotional about this kind of stuff. Okay, so Anne, I know he's not the emotional one, and that's okay. The important thing is that you feel really good about it. Are you feeling good? Yes. Okay. All right, good. So we're in agreement? We're going to write an offer today? Yes. You mirror and match which one you're talking to. So you have to learn how to be a chameleon. You have to be able to change hats as you're talking. So the best way to do that is almost to get into character. You're talking to Bob, you become the driver. You're talking to Ann, you become the amiable. And you just keep turning your body to switch your brain to change how you're talking to them. Think about it. As a matter of fact, I learned one technique once. Somebody had reading glasses. All right, and when she'd be talking to one, she'd put on her reading glasses. When she'd be talking to the other one, she'd take them off to cue her brain to change personalities. Does that make sense? Yes, okay. Now, what if you have an expressive and an analytical? The expressive is going to be like this. I want to buy it right now. Right now. And they almost become a little kid in that moment. They're like, come on. Like, babe, I love it. I just want it. And the analytical's like, hold on. We got to do the financials. We got to make sure that we can do this. And we did some research, but I didn't do enough research on this. And you look at the analytical, and you're like, okay, so I know you did a lot of research already. What haven't you researched yet? What can I help you with? And you speak slowly to the analytical, and then you turn to the expressive. Look, I know you're really excited, and you love this home, and you don't want to lose it. I get it. But you know what? Bob over here, he's going to make sure that you guys are making a safe investment. He's just looking out for you. It's going to be okay. You got to calm the expressive down. Because when they want it, they want it. You've done such a good job getting them emotionally involved, which is not hard to do with an expressive. You've got to get the analytical to get emotionally involved too, which is very challenging. Bob, Ann loves it. And I know you need to do research, but Ann is going to be really upset if somebody else buys this home and she loses it. So how quickly do you think we can do the research today? You want to use the word today. Use the word today as much as you can. Because today psychologically primes them to make a decision today. You're planting words in their head that will resonate with them all day long. All right, today we're going to go see this home. I think it's going to be perfect for you, and you may want to write an offer today. They don't hear you saying it. All they know is that you said it over and over again in their brain. But when they're talking to you, they don't hear that you said it 5 times in one conversation. That's not what they heard. They just heard what you were saying. You want to start priming the analytical especially and the amiable with words like today, easy, simple, everything we need. Those are the words that will stay in their brain. With mirroring and matching, I did give you a cheat sheet on body language, by the way. I'm not going to go over the body language other than a couple of things. But with mirroring and matching, I am going to tell you one story. So I have this ex who was in sales. He was in cell phone sales. And he wasn't doing that great. And he came to me and he's like, I think I'm going to lose my job. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, I'm never hitting my quotas. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need your help. Now, he always thought that everything I talk about is crap. He just thought it was bull. Very analytical guy. He's like, doesn't work. Does not work. And I'm like, well, you're not going to like what I have to tell you, but I want you to go in today. I want you to mirror and match. He goes, mirror and match, really? That's what you want me to do? I said, do you want to keep your job? Do you like it? Yes. Okay, I want you to indulge me and just try this today. He's like, okay. All right, I'm going to do it. It's not going to work, but I'm going to do it. Because your analyticals can be a little on the pessimistic side at times too. I'm like, okay, so whenever they come into the store, I want you to mirror how they're speaking. If it's fast-paced, if it's slow-paced, okay? I want you to mirror and match their inflection of voice. So if they come in and they're like, oh, it's been a rough day, I want you to look at them and say, oh, I know it's been a rough day. Yeah. Well, however they say it, I want you to mirror them. He's like, really? Won't I sound stupid? No. They won't even catch that you're doing it. People like doing business with people that are like themselves. You need to learn how to become a chameleon. And he's like, it's that simple. Really, it's just that simple. Okay, all right, fine. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to mirror and match everything that they do. And I'm going to come home, and I'm probably going to tell you that it didn't work. Okay? So all day long, I waited. I waited all day. He didn't even call me. He made me wait until he got home. So I thought, all right, he's going to come in, and he's going to tell me that it didn't work for him, and he's going to be all negative and whatever. He walks in, and he goes, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, oh, I bet I will. He's like, okay. So this guy walks in. And he gets all animated when he's telling me the story because he's so pumped up. And I'm like, okay, tell me. He goes, he walks in. He's all the way across the store. And he walks in and he goes, you won't believe what corporate did to me. And he, from across the room, yells back at him, what did corporate do to you? Everybody stops in the store. And the guy goes, they did this, this, and this as he's walking. And he's like, I can't believe they did this, this, and this. His managers are like, what the heck? The guy walks over and he goes, well, can you help me? And he looks at him and he goes, yeah, I can help you. The guy bought 5 cell phones that day, all of the accessories, made his quota for the month, and he could not believe that this actually worked. So he continued doing mirroring and matching. He actually ended up making my first version of this chart that we had up here. And he started teaching it for the entire company because his sales went so much through the roof that he was #1 in the Southeast Valley for the entire country for mirroring and matching. Any questions? All right, let's go over a couple of things. Body language. If somebody's standing like this, what does that say?
Either they're cold or they're not interested.
They're really not interested. They're annoyed that you want to keep talking. What do?
Punch him in the gut.
Ha! That's what you want to do. No, you stand directly across from them and you take the same stance. Now here's the thing. You're going to feel stupid and you're going to be like, I'm going to offend them because I'm standing like them. No. What happens is they don't realize that they're actually standing this way. You start standing this way, it makes them uncomfortable. So they start going like this. Then you go ahead and lower your arms. But you still got the same stance. Because if somebody's not directly talking to you, they're not fully in the game. That goes for if they're sitting as well. So if they're still standing like this, you still stand like this. They'll start to straighten up because they realize that you're not into what they're saying either. Then lean in a little bit and act like you're telling them something really important. So somebody walks in to your open house and they're like this. Yeah, okay, you can tell me the story of the home. I'll stand like this, okay? I'm going to tell you the story of the home. And then I'm going to set you free. Is that okay? They're like, yeah, okay. I'm like, all right, so. The couple that lived here was the party couple. Everybody in the neighborhood has told me that they came to lavish parties over here. Apparently, they partied a little too much because they decided to part ways. They're like, really? Yeah, really. And they lean in to listen to you. Okay? Try it with your kids. It works with your kids. Okay, your kids come in and they're like, I don't want to. You're like, I don't care if you don't want to. They start to lower their arms. You start to lower your arms. It's like a battle of the wills. Works with your spouses too. Now, don't tell your spouses what techniques you've learned in this. Okay, because the whole day is going to help you in your marriages too. I promise you. So don't tell them what you've learned because they'll start calling you out on it. There's nothing worse than being with another salesperson and you do a technique like a takeaway and they're like, oh, did you just do a takeaway on me? I'm above that. I teach that. You can't do that to me. And they're like, I got your attention. But you can mirror and match even your family, anybody that you're talking to. I want you guys to practice and get used to it. So what if you are with somebody and they've got their legs crossed. And they're kind of sitting back in their chair, especially at a listing appointment. Means they're not interested in what you have to say. So what do? You cross your legs, you sit back in your chair. You ask them some questions, but you're showing that you're just like them. You don't really care either. What's going to happen? They're going to start to go like this. Because they're getting a little uncomfortable that you don't really care about what they have to say. They feel it. So they uncross their legs. So you slowly uncross your legs. All of a sudden, they kind of start to lean in. You start to lean in. But if you can't get them to lean onto the table, guess what? You're dead in the water. You've got to get them invested into what you're saying. So at a listing presentation, and we'll go over this a little bit later today, you've got to get them invested. So what you do is you take your papers when you're getting ready to present the numbers, you put it down on the table, but not all the way to them. You just put it halfway. You know, I'd like to go over this with you. You don't push it to them until they lean in. That's when you get them. Make sense? Now, how many of you, when I'm telling you this, are like, I can't sit there and cross my legs while they're crossing their legs? They're going to know. They don't know. I promise. The other day, it was so funny. I was sitting there talking to one of you at a mini class. I can't remember who. And you were sitting back in your chair. I can't even remember who it was at this point. You were sitting back in your chair, and you had your leg crossed, so I was sitting back in my chair. I had my leg crossed. You become so good at this that you don't even realize that you're mirroring and matching who's in front of you. It just becomes second nature to you. But you've got to practice. You've got to practice so you don't feel all weird. So you've got to do it at home. Do it with your family. Do it with your friends. When you go out with people, mirror and match. Now, if you're single, this is very powerful. Don't use it for your own personal gain. I will come find you. Okay, everything I'm going to teach you today, you guys have to promise that you're not going to use it for your own personal gain because it is psychological warfare.
It's witchcraft.
It is. It's almost like witchcraft of the mind. We're going to take control of people and they don't even know that we took control and then they're doing everything that we tell them to do, and that's very dangerous in dating. Or with a spouse. You become very good at it. But I want you to practice that. Okay? Another thing that is a telltale sign for you that somebody is lying is if they will not look you in the eyes. Or if they have shiftiness. So they're talking to you and they go to answer you and they're like, and they move their eyes around. That's because they're looking for the answer that isn't the truth. You get to a point, we learned yesterday, that you get to be decently bold. If somebody's trying to find the answer and they don't know the answer, it's okay to say, are you looking for the answer? What are you doing? And they will be like, oh, yeah, you'll snap them out of it like that. Okay? It's okay if you call them out in their body shifts. So you're talking to somebody and you're like, well, I mean, if you want this home and you don't want to lose it, like you just told me, like what we discussed yesterday, you're going to have to come up in your offer to be absolutely sure you're not going to lose it. And they're like, and they won't look at you. So you're like this. Whoa, hold on. Tell me what's going on in your head right now. Something just happened. They appreciate that you know them that well. They're like, oh, well, I don't really want to come up in the offer. Oh, okay. That's okay. So what you're telling me is you really don't want to lose the home, but it's okay if you do. You're not willing to come up in price, so if it's not the right home, that's okay. Well, I mean, I really love the home, but I don't want to come up in my offer. Okay, well, it's got to be one or the other. You've got to tell me. Are you not okay with losing the home and you're going to come up in your offer, or you're going to stay with where you want to put the offer in at and you're okay with losing it? Because that's a potential with your offer. You're $30,000 less. I'm going to stick with the offer, and if we lose it, then I'll move on. But here's the thing, you need to get them real. The body language is the telltale if they don't like what you're saying. You're at a listing presentation and you go over numbers and you've already done everything that I'm going to go over again today, which is funnel them down to, okay, so is this home, does this one fit that low description? No. Okay, does this one fit that high description? No. So where we are is we're at the average, in the middle, where you're partially renovated. Okay, so this is what your number is, and they sit back and they're like, okay, tell me what's going on in your head right now. I saw that. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so open about it. Oh, no, it's okay. I'm trained to pick up on these things. Tell me what's going on in your head. It's okay to be decently bold at that point. You've earned the right. So with body language, somebody else throw one at me where it's like, I don't know how to take this one. Is there any that you have that you're like, how do you handle that? When they seem angry? When they're angry, you're going to try to deflate this situation. So let's say they're angry and they're coming at you. You can take the stand of, what do you think is going to go on in their mind when you start to back up and lean back? They're going to think in their mind, I'm being a little too much, right? They're like, okay, maybe I need to tone this back a little bit. Your hands are a great gesture too, where if they're yelling at you and you're like, and you lean back, you're letting them know, listen, I'm not fighting you. What are you doing right now? But you're not saying anything. Your body language matters in that scenario. They will start to pull back a little bit because they don't want to be like, because if you lean back, automatically, if they want to keep fighting you, they're going to want to lean forward, but they know they can't lean forward, so then they're going to be like, okay, I need to, I'm doing something here. I mean, she's leaned back and with her hand up. And they will calm down a little bit because they realize that they're being too much. But you didn't have to say anything. Now, what if you have somebody that's really angry in front of you and they're kind of like, their language, their body language is showing it? Then you've got to get kind of expressive with them, and it's really uncomfortable when it happens. So they're sitting in front of you and they're like, do you mirror and match them? They go back? No. What you do is, what don't you like about this? And you put your hand on the paper that they're emphasizing. What is it that you don't like about it? To get their attention and snap them back into concentration with you. Now, the drivers in the room are like, I don't know how I would take it if somebody did that. But here's the thing, if you're angry and you're like, I don't like it, and the person across from you says, what don't you like about it? Talk to me. There's nothing aggressive in what I'm saying. My hand is simply getting their attention and snapping them back to reality. Okay? How many of you in the room are scared to do that? Be honest. Yes? What is scary about it?
Not me.
It's not you. Okay? It needs to become you. You need to practice this. It's not you because it's uncomfortable. It's not your normal personality. But in sales, you have to become a chameleon. You have to. Because if you don't, people are going to walk all over you. Especially drivers are going to walk all over you if you don't learn how to take control of what they're doing. Expressives, you're going to have to learn how to take control of them because they will walk all over you. Because expressives are going to be like, I don't like it. And you're going to be like, what don't you like about it? It's okay, just talk to me. Let's communicate about this. They're like, oh. They don't expect you to be so calm, but you got their attention.